All right, so let's now talk about document B. All right, now this is James Madison again. We have the author. And then here's the title. Remember, it is the entire thing, not just Federalist paper. You have to have the number. So last time it was Federalist paper number 51. This is Federalist paper number 47. So if you're thinking about it logically, which one came first, document A or document B? Probably document B, okay? So let's see what he says now. He says the accumulation of all powers, legislative, executive, and judiciary in the same hands, whether of one, a few, or many, and whether hereditary, self-appointed, or elective, may be justly pronounced the very definition of tyranny. Wow, that's a lot of words. So let's break it down. So accumulation means when you're like accumulating goods, like you're gathering them up. So like the gathering into one place of all powers, so that's like all powers given to the government. Legislative, remember that's laws. Executive is like the people who are in charge, so like the pres and the vice president. The judiciary are the courts or the judges, okay? So if we put all of these powers to make laws, to be in charge, and to decide if someone is guilty or innocent, if we give that all to one person, so if we do this plus this, all to one person, group, person or group, that's whether of one, that's a person, a few or many, which we'll just say group for both of those, and whether hereditary. Hereditary means it's passed down to you, it's family, okay? So in what type of government do we have power passed down through family? Kings, queens, stuff like that. So hereditary is like by family. Self-appointed, so when somebody is appointed, they're chosen. So if you're self-chosen, that's somebody who just kind of takes over, or not elected. Or elective, so chosen by the people. So let's back up. It says the gathering of all powers to make laws, to be in charge, courts. If we give it to one person, whether they get it by family or they choose it themselves or they're elected by the people, is the very definition of tyranny, okay? The very definition, meaning it is the exact definition. Even if we break up all of these powers, laws, who's in charge, the courts, if we just give it to one group or person, it is tyranny. Now, tyranny is a bad thing. Remember, they don't want tyranny. Tyranny is like having too much power and like taking advantage of it, okay? So King George, they called him a tyrant. His form of government was a tyranny. What he said goes, okay? So even if it's a group, if a group of people are saying this is the way it is, and we have all of the power, this is a problem, okay? Liberty requires that the three great departments of power should be separate and distinct. What does liberty mean? Freedom. Freedom requires that the three great departments of power should be separate and distinct. Now, if you remember from our chart that I drew out, it is broken into three branches. Now, I can't find my chart, but the three branches, okay, that's the legislative, the executive, and the judiciary. So when we're talking about three great departments, we mean the three branches: legislative, judicial, and executive. And so what they're saying is that these three great departments should be separate and distinct, okay? So what is he talking about here? The three branches. In document A, he was talking about federalism. That was just splitting the power between the states and the federal government. Now in Federalist Papers number 47, he's saying we need to further split that power into three branches, which we already talked about. But the three branches are the legislative, the executive, and the judiciary, okay? So this makes sense if you go back to our chart that we made. Ooh, I found it. If we go back to our chart, this stage right here if I just draw a box around it, this is document A. And this level is what he's talking about in document B. So federalism, splitting the government power into two between the states and the federal government. And then when we take that power and we divide it into 3 branches for each side, that is what he's talking about, document B, the 3 branches. Okay? What you really need to know from this is that the more that you divide power between departments, between states and federal government, the less chance you have of tyranny, because tyranny, remember, is the power, is too much power in the hands of one person or group. Okay? So that's document B. There's also another document in here. This source is the actual Constitution of the United States of America in 1787. Now, we will go back to our background essay. Remember, we have a date circled in 1787, and that is in May, they started to draft it, okay? All right, so here's what it says. It has the first 3 articles and their sections, okay? So article number 1, section number 1, okay, says all legislative powers, so that's laws, remember, herein granted shall be vested in a Congress of the United States, which shall consist of a Senate and a House of Representatives. So Article 1, Section 1 is talking, it makes a legislative branch. Now, remember our chart. The legislative branch is AKA Congress, and Congress is made up of 2 parts, the upper and the lower house. Upper is the Senate, and the lower is the House of Representatives. So here it is. All legislative powers, so that's the legislative branch, shall be granted shall be vested, that means given to a Congress, which shall consist of a Senate and a House of Representatives. That's where we get this language. That's where the legislative branch is created. All right, Article 2, Section 1, Clause 1, okay? The executive power, so this is like the people in charge, shall be vested in a president of the United States. He shall hold his office during the term of 4 years and serve together with the vice president chosen for the same term. So this clause creates the executive branch, which we know at the federal level is the president plus the vice president. Catch up to me, screen. Okay, and they get to serve for 4 years. Remember, they can serve 2 terms, but we're not there yet. Okay, so Article 1, legislative. Article 2, executive. And now Article 3, what branch do you think they're going to make? The judicial. Okay, so this is judicial power of the United States shall be given to 1 Supreme Court and in such inferior courts as the Congress may time to time ordain and establish, okay? The judges, both of the Supreme Court and the inferior courts, shall hold their offices during good behavior. So this basically means they can be judge for as long as they are good, meaning they can't break any laws, okay? They can't be like arrested for murder and still be a judge. All right, so let's talk about this. The judicial branch at the federal level is AKA the Supreme Court. Now, underneath the Supreme Court, we have the Federal Court of Appeal. Below that, we have the Federal Circuit Court. Now, how you guys need to think about this is it goes local, less local, so like a group of states, to all the way up to National Supreme Court, okay? Now, if you are a judge at any of these levels of court, you get to stay for as long as you are good, okay? That's why it's super important when we elect Supreme Court justices. They are there until they basically die on the bench, okay? So however they decide cases, that's going to be with us for a long time. All right. So Article 1 creates a legislative branch, the executive branch, and the judicial branch are also created in Articles 2 and 3. So when you think of Document B, I want you, all of these documents relate to the 3 branches of government. Okay, so you guys are going to answer these 3 questions. Remember, the best thing that you need to do here, hold on.
Whoa.